Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today it is going to be R-Type 3, the Third Lightning for the Super Nintendo. This is a game that I've played for quite some time now. I had it back in the late 90s. I was just never able to finish this game, and we actually finished this game for the very first time as of a few weeks ago. This is a Let's Play that's kind of overdue in that regard. Like, I actually finished it a few weeks ago, but I wasn't, like, comfortable enough to do a Let's Play on it, and honestly I almost feel like I'm still not comfortable enough to do a Let's Play on this, because R-Type 3 is one of those games, those thinking man shooters that requires a ton of attention, and if you don't have that, you're gonna die a lot. And we're probably gonna die a lot in this Let's Play, but cross your fingers for me. We will hope for the best. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Before I do kick things off though, as usual, I'm going to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers, so they're going to flash across the screen. Thanks everyone that's supporting me on Patreon, I really appreciate it. And I'm going to also flash by the recent super chatters from our live stream, which is usually held on Thursday nights, so if you're around Thursday nights, feel free to hang out, come stop by, say hello, and yeah, so in R-Type 3, you've actually got 3 different pods you can choose from. So in classic R-Type, prior to R-Type 3, you only had one pod. You had the round force, as they call it here. And that's like the traditional R-Type pod. But in R-Type 3, they introduced 2 new pods. I prefer the middle one, the Shadow Force, because it's got what I think is the most powerful weapon in the game, and that's going to help us a ton. Not so much earlier on in the game, but more so on the final stage, and you guys will see what I'm talking about once we get there. The Cyclone Force is also really solid, and actually the Round Force I think is probably the weakest in the game. So if you're like me, 20 years ago playing this for the first time, and you use the Round Force because it's the traditional R-Type pod, where you're going to have more trouble than you would expect to. So yeah, let's go ahead and pick the Shadow Force and jump right into it. Like I said, guys, cross your fingers. Let's hope for the best. There's a good chance I'm going to die quite a bit and continue many times in this playthrough, but we will see the end of the game. I don't care how many continues it takes us, we are going to see through this entire game. So one of the big changes in R-Type 3 is how your supercharged beam shot works. It's this huge blast that just flies right across the screen. It cuts through walls. It can even hit behind you. Let's see if I can demonstrate that. Just like that. So I actually destroyed some of that debris from in front of it, which is interesting. So the charge shot in this game is quite useful, quite handy. Now you've also got a hyper shot. So let me clear out some of this stuff so I can demonstrate that for you. So you can press the X button to switch over, sorry, the R button to switch over to your hyper beam, and then when that charges up all the way, it unleashes this blast in front of you, and then you can mash on the fire button or press X for the turbo fire, which is what I recommend in this game. Just hold X. And all these shots that spew out are extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. It's the most powerful charge shot in the game. But the only downside is once you've unleashed it, it's got to cool down. And so when you use that, you want to use it at situations where you're not going to be left wide open. Or if you are going to be left wide open, make sure you've got a good standard offensive weapon that your pod can use. So this is actually the best weapon, in my opinion, in the game. This is the blue shot for the Shadow Force. It shoots out these straight lasers. But what's cool about this force is it's also got these options that sort of fly around the screen, and they also shoot bullets for you. And so you can occasionally get shots going at different angles thanks to these little side pods that help you out. There's also the traditional R-Type side pods you can also get and stack with this pod. So this is by far the most offensive-oriented pod in the game, which is why if you're new to this game, I recommend choosing this pod over the others, regardless of preferences. It is by far the most powerful, and that really plays a massive part later on in the game, where enemies have lots of hit points. So R-Type 3 has this very, very long first level. It almost goes on for too long. It's a relatively slow stage. It's very, very beginner friendly, unlike the rest of the game. The rest of the game can be quite difficult. And the game's not even that long. It's only, I believe it's only 6 stages long. which is a stage or two short from, you know, what R-Type games usually are. So Super R-Type on Super Nintendo had 7 stages. R-Type, the arcade game, the original, I think had 7 or 8. Although actually R-Type 2, come to think of it, I think only had 5 or 6. That was a pretty short game as well. Granted, its difficulty was through the roof. R-Type 2 is insanely difficult, and that's another one I've yet to complete. But now that I've actually finished R-Type 3 for the first time, I'm going to be working my way back through some of these older R-Type games I was never able to finish. I never finished the original arcade R-Type, although I got pretty close. I got to either the second to last stage or the final stage. I did actually finish the PC Engine version of that, the PC Engine Super CD-ROM version of R-Type. I finished Super R-Type on the hardest difficulty mode, Pro mode. Let's see, I finished R-Type Delta, got pretty close to R-Type Final. Yeah, R-Type 2, the arcade game, that's the one I really want to try to tackle, because that's the most brutal of the ones that are left over. R-Type Leo, not really an R-Type game, but still an awesome game. I finished that many times. We're gonna have to do a Let's Play on that sometime. That'll be really fun to do. But yeah, with R-Type 3 off my list, I can now try to tackle some of the other more challenging R-Type games like R-Type 2. Now, don't get me wrong, R-Type 3, it actually has an advanced mode you can play after you finish the game, but you have to finish the game to unlock it, which is a bummer. And that is actually quite challenging. I tried going through that a couple of times and just hit several brick walls in the process and trying to do it. But maybe down the road I'll get good enough to where I can actually try to attempt the advanced mode in a Let's Play. We'll see. So this is my red shot here. It actually shoots in both directions. If you put the ship, the pod on the other side of you, the beams go the other way. But again, my favorite shot is the blue shot, which spits out these greenish lasers. Alright, so we're gonna have to watch out for these guys that come from behind. Last time I played this game, I actually got caught by those guys. I was sitting in the top left portion of the screen, and the guys just came from behind. Alright, so this boss, we're gonna use our hypercharged shot, and we're just gonna hold it. We're not gonna let go until he pops up onto our plane. So basically what happens is he just hovers around in the background, shoots bullets up at you, and you just want to move around in a circular type of fashion. Very simple first boss, nothing too complex here. And then you have to wait until he comes up onto your level to be able to attack him. He's gonna fly up past us. Some 16-bit scaling effects. Not the most impressive scaling, honestly. This boss does look kind of wonky. One of my complaints about R-Type 3 is there are several parts in the game that are style over substance, and in some cases the style isn't even that good. This first boss is a shining example of that. Probably the biggest shining example of that, where the graphical effect is kind of wonky, and I kind of wish they just structured the boss a little bit different so it wouldn't have looked as dated as it does now. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the graphics in this game are really awesome, like, you know, the standard just stock 2D stuff, like this backdrop is really awesome. And there's a lot of nice visual cues in this game, lots of really smooth animation and things like that. Like the boss of the next stage has some really slick animation with how he sort of like crawls around the walls, and you guys will see what I mean once we get to that. So, but there are certain effects that are used that are kind of like, ugh. It didn't even look good in 1993 when this game came out. But that aside, there's a lot of other really nice visual touches in this game for sure. All right, so you basically have to use these acid drops from the top to remove the flooring for you, so you can get by. And there's a missile power-up right there. We're gonna have to miss, unfortunately, because that guy got stuck. That's the first time I've seen that happen. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this weapon too. Let's flip the pod back over. And actually, we're gonna go ahead and switch back to our red weapon. Why not? So in this part coming up, we're going to have to let some acid drops drop down so we can get back up. And actually, I think I can probably get to the other side of this pod again. I'm going to kill this guy from this side. Use those beams going behind you to take him out. Now we're going to have to charge up too, because we have to send a fully charged shot through this wall in order to take that weak spot out, in order to destroy it completely. So we're actually really close to the boss fight now. And this is one of the... There's two boss fights in this game that I think are major pains, and this is one of them. And when I was younger and I first had this game, this was one of my main roadblocks. I'd get to this boss and I would just get wrecked. And what we're going to do is actually not shoot right here, because there's a couple pods that I don't want to activate. This one's fine. The other one was a speed up power up, and I don't want to be too fast on this part, otherwise it's too hard to dodge our video game sperm that's going to be shooting out. There it is. Probably never thought I'd say that in a Let's Play. So this guy basically opens and closes his eyes. You don't want to shoot him when he's closing his eyes, because you won't do any damage to him. Now you can try using your hyper shot here, but I don't think it's possible to kill him in one go with it, so I prefer to just use my standard charge shot. A lot of times it'll hit him twice, and this might actually do it. Oh, he shut his eye. Got him. Wow, first try. Awesome. Very awesome, because this guy can be super frustrating. And just like other R-Type games, you've got checkpoints. Unlike Super R-Type on Super Nintendo, you actually have real checkpoints in this game. So you don't get shot all the way back to the beginning like you do in Super R-Type. But you still get shot back, you lose your firepower. And in certain bosses, you don't really have worthwhile firepower getting back to the boss a second time, or third time, or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this shot, because it's quite useful in this stage, where you've got enemies shooting you from all sides. Enemies appearing from tops and bottoms of the screen. And I'm going to skip that weapon. All the weapons with this pod are actually really good, even the yellow weapon. The yellow weapon's not always the best with some of the other pods, but with this ship, I mean, everything is just very, very offensive, very useful, very efficient. So, like, the yellow shot shoots 2 lasers forward, but it also shoots 2 lasers out to the sides of your ship, and they travel along the surface area, and will kill pretty much anything stuck on the surfaces, which is really, really handy. So, I mean, pretty much any weapon with this pod is really awesome. And what we're going to do here is we're going to try to fully charge up. And because my fully charged shot will also attack from behind, that's how large the hitbox is. We're going to kill all these guys in one swoop. Watch this. Just like that. If you don't see that part coming, you're probably going to die. And, but if you know it's there, use that fully charged shot, you take them all out in one hit. Getting really close to the boss fight now. it helps to be fully powered up. When you're fully powered up, parts of this game are a lot easier than they are when you're not fully powered up, and that's just very typical of shmups. Alright, so we're going to stay on the wall here. We don't want to touch the wall, otherwise we'll die. And we want to go under this guy's feet. Not really feet, but spikes, I guess. Like this. And then do it like this. And just wail on him like this. With your hyper shot. Quick kill. Once he starts dying like this, you can actually fly through him. So he poses no threat the second he starts falling apart. That was really good. I was actually worried I was going to get, you know, crushed or pinched by him and die. Remember, R-Type is the type of game where you die in one hit. There's no shields in R-Type. I mean, yeah, you got your pod, which can block certain projectiles. But bosses like that, your pod is pretty much useless from a defensive standpoint. If anything penetrates it, you die instantly. You know, like a physical object, like his foot. Or the wall behind you. Alright, so this level was actually as far as I was ever able to get back in the day, and it wasn't until just recently I really spent some time trying to practice this on Twitch, and it was extremely frustrating. This level requires rote memorization. Literal memorization. And if you have a hard time with that, this part is insanely difficult as a result. It would be majorly frustrating. So notice the ceiling was just spewing out fire there. Well, that's the main gimmick for the second half of this stage. The first half could be tricky too if you don't know exactly how to handle it. But basically, these little doors come down. You want to blow them wide open. This part right here gave me a little bit of trouble the first time I got to it. We're going to fully charge up and try to kill some of these turrets immediately. And I'm going to flip this pod over. Oops, I messed up. It's okay. There we go, we got him. This three-way wall thingy object, I don't even know what you call it. He's reverses its trajectory halfway through, so you gotta watch out for that. And what we're gonna do is just kind of sit up here, wait for 2 of these fire drops to happen, and now we're gonna speed forward down here. And come up. And I'm gonna come up again and just hug the right side of the screen. Not too far on the right, because there's some turrets here. They might shoot at you, and you don't wanna, you know, you obviously don't want to touch those. So I'm gonna come down here like so, and just hug this side. Again, watch out for these. There's these little tiny circular turrets on these walls here. You gotta watch out for them and keep moving because they are aiming at you and they will shoot. Alright, so this is one of the only levels in the game that actually has a mini-boss. And so we're gonna switch over to our... Actually, we're not gonna switch over to the hyper yet. We're gonna go ahead and just use this weapon for now. Just hit air up like this. And there's 3 phases on this mini-boss. And now we're going to switch over to our hyper. So these guys do 3-way shots. And just use your hyper on this. And there it is. So now we're going to switch our pod back over. We're going to sit here. Just let this go twice. Now we're just going to come up here. Like so. And we don't want to hug the left side of the screen too much because some weapon power-up pods are going to appear. And they'll actually slam into you and kill you even though your pod's on the back side of your ship. Right there. Now we want to just hug the left side of the screen. Just like so. Another wall's going to come down or a door's going to come down. We got it. First try. Amazing. Whew. I really hate dying at that part because you're going to do that, you know, you got to start from the mini-boss and work your way back. And it's always a stressful section in the game. Maybe not as stressful as this boss, though. This boss is really troublesome for me, so let's hope that we don't die here. But I've got my favorite weapon, which is awesome. So we'll kind of see what happens here. And this weapon should be really good on this boss, because it's so powerful. I mean, I might not even need to use a charge shot, honestly. We'll see. Yep. And this is why you want to use the Shadow Force if you're new to this game, because this powered up blue shot is amazing. Normally what I would do is if I died, I'd have to rely on my charge shot, and the boss fight would take 2 or 3 times as long. And he's very stressful because every time he crosses your path, he shoots a laser out. But then you've got these little pods in the background, or these little electrical things in the background that you can slam into, and the whole background is rotating and it's very hard on your eyes. And I just died for the first time. I don't know why I did that. I, for some reason, was thinking that block was going to get killed, but I don't think these blocks can be destroyed, honestly. If they can, they take a lot of hits. That was a really bad first death, but we actually had a really good run up to that point. I'm pretty happy with that because I was expecting to die many more times leading up to that part, so that actually kind of caught me off guard, honestly. Now, unfortunately, I don't really have any worthwhile firepower right now, so what I need to do is rely on my charge shot. Oh, come on, I died again, seriously. Back to the beginning, too. This is a tough part without weapons. Oh, I died again. He shot a projectile out. This level honestly isn't really that hard. I just made a really stupid mistake by dying on the first time, which made me lose all my firepower. And that's where R-Type becomes its most challenging, is when you lose your firepower. And that's how a lot of, you know, shoot-'em-ups from back in the day were. They were very much skewed towards how powered up you were. Got another extra life, at least. Alright, we should be good now. At least we made some kind of recovery, that's good. I was like, oh man, I just lost 3 or 4 lives in one swoop. And I was, like, I was expecting to die a lot, just not on this level. It's funny how that works out. So this is actually where your Shadow Force really starts to come in handy, because like these guys right here, they take a lot of hits normally, but with the Shadow Force, just use your blue shot, which is your green laser, and you can make quick work of them. Just like that. And we're almost at the boss too, which this is kind of where the boss rush element in the R-Type series sort of started. It sort of started with R-Type 3. So the boss rush thing was something that was consistent with the rest of the series from here on out. So this, R-Type Delta, R-Type Final, they all had these little boss rush style sections. And for those old school fans of R-Type, R-Type 1 and R-Type 2, or even Super R-Type, one of the bosses here is from Super R-Type, which is awesome. Because, you know, a lot of people see Super R-Type as like the black sheep of the family. I love Super R-Type, and you guys probably know that. I did a Let's Play of it a few weeks back, and if you haven't checked that out yet, feel free to. And one of the bosses on this boss rush is from Super R-Type, which is really awesome. So this first form, though, is going to be this, like, blob that just sort of floats around the screen. I guess he transforms into these other traditional R-Type bosses. So you just want to shoot him over and over. You do get points for shooting him, which is good. So if you're close to an extra life, you might get one. Alright, so right here, what I want to do is actually throw my pod into him, like that. That way the pod just does damage, and then I can just use my charge shot to hit him on top of that. So this is actually the first boss from the very first R-Type. Unlike the first R-Type, he doesn't push forward. So you can just sit here all day and be relatively safe. But if you die at any part of this boss rush, you gotta do the whole boss rush over again. So that's the tricky part about it. Alright, and this is going to be the Super R-Type boss. What I'm going to do is, normally I would use my hyper attack here, but I don't want to be cooling down for the next form. And so what we're going to do is just shoot him directly like this. Because again, this laser is really, really powerful. Especially if your little pods and options are, you know, helping you out. A lot of times it feels like they have a mind of their own. Alright, so right here, I want to have my fully charged shot and try to take this guy out immediately. Just like so. Just like the very first R-Type, this is the second boss in the first R-Type, you can kill the guy really, really quickly in that game. And that carried over into this boss rush as well. We're going to switch over to our Hyper Beam. And take this thing out instantly if we can. Just like that. And now the blob is going to come back out. And he basically does this shot pattern. Wow, we just annihilated him. Like I said, this laser shot is insanely powerful in this game. And this is the final stage in the game, guys. And this is really where our laser shot's going to come in handy. I'm not going to get sped up. I don't need to be any faster than I already am. What did I get hit by? I have no idea what touched me. It just blew up out of nowhere. Might have been that one guy that was off the screen. He came back and touched me. I don't think I got hit by a projectile. That's gonna make this a lot harder now. Which is a major bummer. So you can take these guys out in one hit with your fully charged shot. Now you've got these textures in the background. They'll push you up or down, or they'll speed you up or slow you down. You gotta figure out which ones do which if you want to have full control over this this level. Alright, so later you've got to actually get inside this, this portal to get past some walls. You don't have to do it just yet. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of a different section. I got trolled by the game. Yeah, there's a couple sections where you don't actually have to go through the portal to get through those walls, but apparently I was mistaken. I was thinking of a different section. Which means we've got to do this section all over again. Alright, let's try this again. I'm pretty sure it's this one right here. You don't have to actually get past. It comes back and then it goes back away. Just like that. See, that's the one I was thinking of. So you can see how many hits these guys take. They take an insane amount of hits. And this is why your blue laser really, really comes in handy. I think these disappear too. Let's hope for the best. Please disappear. Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm a little fast right now. Let's hope for the best here. Wow, we got lucky. See, this is a tricky part because you notice like your pods or your special item pods appear, and they'll kill you. But I'm really fast right now. Unfortunately, I picked up too many speed up power-ups. Okay, good deal. Alright, so this is the, I guess you could say it's like a mini-boss. And then we'll be taken to the actual final boss afterwards. We need to basically kill these pods on the tops and bottoms of the screen. Just like so. Alright, good deal. And now that we've got our, well, our fully powered up laser shot, we should be good. We don't even really need to use our charge shot on this guy. Now this boss has 3 forms. In the first form, you want to just attack his head, and then he spits out more of these bugs, which again have insane amounts of HP. So what I used to do is just use my hyper beam to do a quick kill on him. But I found that with this laser shot it just wasn't necessary. So now his arms come apart and they start chasing you, and this is probably the toughest part of this fight, because these guys are super erratic, very unpredictable. But you just want to keep shooting them as much as you possibly can as they move. They only take damage when they move. Okay, this is good actually. After a certain point, they get sucked up into this portal again. So we need to shoot this guy in the head a couple times, and we need to shoot our pod into his mouth right now. And that's game over. Did we just do a 1 credit clear of this game? I think we did. Despite all the deaths, we still did a 1 credit clear and still had like 5 lives left over. Well, that's cool. I actually, you know, with how smooth the first 4 levels went, I was not expecting to die on the 5th level the way I did and lose a bunch of lives. But even with that, you know, we managed to recover and still managed to get through the final level without too much trouble, and thus beat the game without continuing, which is nice. Because normally when I play this game, I have to continue. Because like I said, it's one of those games where if you're not focused entirely, it's really challenging. You can get caught off guard, and then it's really tough to recover, and it's tough to get your focus back on games like these. Once you've lost your focus on a game like this, it's hard to get it back without coming back to it fresh later on. So yeah, there you go, guys. R-Type 3 for the Super Nintendo. This will actually throw me right into advanced mode, but I'm not gonna play advanced mode. I thought about trying it, but I was like, nah, I don't need this to be a 2-hour-long Let's Play, because I'm not gonna be able to finish advanced mode anyway. As far as I'm aware, there's no way to unlock advanced mode normally. So, I mean, not normally. I can't talk. There's no way to unlock advanced mode without beating the game, as far as I'm aware. If anyone knows differently, let me know. I'm also kind of curious if there's maybe like a Game Genie code or something to start, you know, after the end of the game. Or if maybe there's a ROM hack available that starts you like right in advanced mode. That would be pretty sweet. If it doesn't exist, it's something that should exist, so we don't have to run through the entire game to practice it. But then again, I guess that's what emulators are for. We could use emulators and save states and whatnot. You can actually see how much faster these guys are already. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I just picked up the controller and continuing to play, just so you guys have some background music. Otherwise, we can just pause it. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for this Let's Play, guys. I'm not gonna play advanced mode. I hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough. R-Type 3 and Super Nintendo. I'm really happy that I've been able to finish this game. It's something that's been on my plate for decades now. It's, you know, one of those games I just sort of dismissed because I thought I would never finish the game. And, you know, there are some challenging games like that where I get fed up with them, and then I don't look at them very highly afterwards, and I don't bother revisiting them because I think I'll never be able to finish them. But I put some time into R-Type 3, and sure enough, I was able to do it. And so here we are now, you know, finishing up a Let's Play on it, which is nice. I'm going to be trying to tackle some other really difficult games in the near future, now that R-Type 3 is off my list. I would like to try to eventually finish R-Type 2, the arcade game. But there's other difficult games as well that aren't shoot-em-ups that I would also like to try to tackle for the very first time that I've never tackled before. So once that happens, once I complete those, you guys will most likely see Let's Plays of them. And so yeah, stay tuned, guys. And as of posting this, it's getting close to October, and October is, well, it's October. it's horror video month, and so I'm going to be trying to handle Let's Plays of games that are, you know, horror-based. So I've got a couple of games in mind. You can definitely expect some Castlevania and things like that. So stay tuned for October as well. We're getting really close to that. And so yeah, I'm out, guys. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And for all of you guys already subbed, thanks for your usual support. Hope you guys continue to enjoy these videos. And until the next video, take it easy.